So Sweden is back in the news yet again, because their citizens are dumb as shit. It has been announced that next year, in 2018, they'll hold the first ever female-only festival, and here's why. Following this year's Bravilla, Sweden's biggest music festival, there were 4 cases of rape and 23 sexual assaults reported. Now, anyone subscribed to this channel will more than likely already know about Sweden's issues, reported by other YouTubers much bigger than myself. However, presuming there might be a handful that don't, I'll explain as quick as possible. Since Sweden has opened its borders to migrants and refugees, mostly from the Middle East and African countries, crimes such as rape and sexual assault have increased dramatically. So much so that now Swedish officials have blanket banned stating the ethnicity of the offender on reports, because the truth will be so damning and show everyone what a terrible mistake they've made by allowing so many people with barbaric beliefs and customs into the country. And preventing that kind of anger is much more important than identifying the perpetrator's ethnicity to help catch and convict the criminal. So in recent years, incidents have also been on the increase at festivals. Last year in 2016, police recorded 5 reports of rapes and 12 of sexual molestation in Bravilla, and 35 reports of sexual molestation at Parken, a free festival in Karlstad, where the youngest victim was just 12 years old. 2 of the 7 young men suspected of mounting a campaign of aggressive groping at the second festival were unaccompanied refugee youths, in other words, lied about their age, reportedly living in a nearby accommodation centre. An anonymous 15-year-old girl told Express newspaper that no fewer than 5 of her 6 friends had been sexually molested by foreign youths during the Karlstad 2016 event. Another girl of 17 said that she had not exactly seen who assaulted her at Parken. She stressed, however, that the group of 18 to 19-year-old boys standing behind her were not from a Swedish background. They were probably immigrants. I hate to say it, but it's the truth, she said. So we're seeing a very clear pattern emerging. The majority of these sexual assaults are done by mostly immigrants. Now, I'm not saying that none of the suspects were white. I'm sure there's some perverts that are white as well. But given the majority of the incidents were done by a so-called minority demographic, speaks volumes about what they find acceptable in their cultures. But what can you expect from an ethnic group that has an activity called Tarash Gamia, which translates to the rape game? I'm going to play part of a video of Lara Logan's testament on how this happened to her in Egypt. I'm not going to play the whole thing because, well, I don't want a copyright strike. And also, and more importantly, I don't want to give any impression that I'm exploiting Lara's trauma, and instead, I'll put a link to their full uncut video in the description.
When we drove from the airport into Cairo that night, moments after Mubarak had stepped down, it was unbelievable. It was like unleashing a champagne cork on Egypt. I'm anxious to get to the square. I got to be there because this is a moment in history that you don't want to miss.
What does it look like?
It looks like a party.
This is about freedom.
She reported without a hint of trouble for more than an hour.
And what happened then?
Our camera battery went down. And we had to stop for a moment, and suddenly Baha looks at me and says, "We've got to get out of here."
Baha is not happy here?
He's Egyptian, he speaks Arabic, and he can hear what the crowd is saying.
Yes.
He understands what no one else in the crew understands.
That's right. I was told later that they were saying, "Let's take her pants off." And it's like suddenly, before I even know what's happening, I feel hands grabbing my breasts, grabbing my crotch, grabbing me from behind. I mean, it's not, you know, one person and then it stops. It's like one person and another person and another person. And I know Ray is right there and he's grabbing at me and screaming, "Lara, hold on to me, hold on to me."
As she was pulled into the frenzy, the camera recorded her shout.
Stop! I have one arm on Ray. I've lost the fixer, I've lost the drivers, I've lost everybody except him. And I feel them tearing at my clothing. I think my sweater was torn off completely. My shirt was around my neck. And I remember looking up, when my clothes gave way, I remember looking up and seeing them taking pictures with their cell phones, the flashes of their cell phone cameras.
It was a fight she endured about 25 minutes.
There was no doubt in my mind that I was in the process of dying. I thought, not only am I going to die here, but it's going to be just a torturous death that's going to go on forever and ever and ever.
Lara was dragged along by the mob until they were stopped by a fence. At that spot, a group of Egyptian women were camped out.
And I almost fell into the lap of this woman on the ground who was head to toe in black. Just her eyes, I remember. Just her eyes, I could see.
Wearing a chador.
Yes. And she put her arms around me. And, oh my God, I can't tell you what that moment was like for me. I wasn't safe yet, because the mob was still trying to get at me. But now it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about their women. And that was what saved me, I think.
Unfortunately, Tarush Gumia is no longer exclusive to shitholes like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and other places in the Middle East and Africa. Migrants have now brought it to Europe. The earliest reports were during the New Year's Eve celebrations in Cologne, Germany in 2015. Wherever there's a crowd of people packed together, there's a chance that men of Middle Eastern or African descent will try to separate a woman or girl, surround her, and alternate between sexually abusing her or helping prevent and fight off any would-be helpers from trying to rescue her. So with all that in mind, what have the organisers of Bravilla done? Completely cancelled the event, because certain men apparently cannot behave. What certain men? I think it's a very clear demographic of men that can't behave themselves, but sure, let's lump in all men together with the rapey immigrants. Because calling out the truth would be racist, wouldn't it? And blaming an entire gender is not sexist at all, is it? So in response to the cancellation, Swedish radio presenter Emma Kinkare tweeted, "What do you think about putting together a really cool festival where only non-men are welcome, that we'll run until all men have learned how to behave themselves?" Interesting. All men. Let's see what Esquire has to say about this. I'm sure it'll be a fair piece from a male's perspective. After all, I used to buy the magazine back in the 90s, when it was a lad's mag with a veneer of respectability. The male rage over Sweden's women-only music festival will be fun to watch. The countdown begins. Not exactly the headline I was expecting. To be fair, I wasn't expecting them to be bashing the idea either, but a little more professional and a more pragmatic approach would have been nice. But it is an article by Sarah Rentz. A woman!
I respect women.
Yes, I do respect women's. How mad will men on the internet get when they learn about Sweden's first ever women-only festival? Let's see. And I'm not going to read through all that because you've already heard it. Kinkare acted on her own words and those of her supporters and later announced on Instagram that the non-men festival was a go. In the coming days, I'll bring together a solid group of talented organisers and project leaders to form the festival organisers. Then you'll hear from everyone again when it's time to move forward, she wrote. The countdown to male outrage starts now. So yes, a publication for men shitting all over the feelings, opinions and frustrations of men. Looks like they're getting the journalism tips from Kotaku now. But you know what? I'm all for this No Men Allowed festival. I want them to do it. And I want them to do it 100% right. So all women organisers, all female bands and performers, absolutely no men anywhere at all in the venue. So the stage crew, technicians, electricians, sanitation, security, all female. You can do it. But let's look at the wording of it. Even though a lot of news outlets are billing it as women only, that's not necessarily the case. It's actually non-men. So all 8,574 other made-up genders are allowed in. Only those who identify as men won't be welcome, which opens up a whole host of possibilities. If you show up and just say you're a woman, it would be transphobic of them to not believe you. Even if you're not wearing feminine clothes, you could identify as non-binary. They'll have no choice but to let you in. I mean, what are they going to do? Run background checks on all 40,000 concert goers? Face it, the idea is absolutely retarded unless the organisers say strictly women only. because then they can use that mythical ability called common sense. And if anyone doesn't look like a female, then they're not allowed in. And if anyone cries transphobe, well, fuck 'em. If you're going to exclude men and not expect to be called sexist, then no need to worry about the trans community's fee-fees either. So my final word is this. Go ahead, please. Try and make this man-free festival a thing next year, and I wish you the very best of luck. Because it can go only one of two ways. A resounding success without a hitch, and women will be saved from the pervy, grabby hands of filthy migrants. Sorry, I mean men. Or it'll be a massive clusterfuck of issues from day one of trying to get it off the ground in the real world, marred by people making a mockery of the gender loopholes, and only a small amount of straight females will want to attend. Because, well, women like the idea of hooking up at a festival just as much as men do. And that's not possible if there's no men. And I will laugh my arse off. Have a great day.